You know, the great Apple PR machine, you know, and what the Steve Jobs quote is, you know, and it's the extension of the Henry Ford quote. If, you know, customers would have known, if I would have asked customers what they wanted, I would have gotten a faster horse. And that really, and, you know, and Steve Jobs never talked to customers. Those are just mythologies. I mean, it's just not true. And by the way, let's not take anything away from Jobs. His product instinct was probably as good as anybody in the 20th or so far in the 21st century. He was the intersection of art and science. He was unreasonable, he was crabby, but he understood something much like Edward Land did, or maybe Walt Disney. I think you have to look back to those two guys to find the equivalent, at least in American business. But he was not sitting in a lotus position in a lead-lined room with little lightning bolts coming into his head on how he got ideas. You know, Steve Jobs lived about a half a mile from the Apple Palo Alto store, and so did I, luckily in the other direction. But when he was healthy, once a month, I'd see him in the Apple Palo Alto store. And it only struck me about a year or two later, gee, don't you think Steve Jobs could get a computer delivered to his house? You know, I mean, why is he in the store? It wasn't just he needed people to see him. Steve Jobs was actually learning something in his own inimitable way. And then when Jobs was healthy, do you remember he used to answer one customer email, you know, a month? You know, create, oh, the sighting of Steve Jobs, was it real? And then the whole press would go Twitter about, you know, oh, what did he, and usually it was no or F you. I mean, but did anybody ever ask, was this the only email from customers that Steve Jobs was reading? And I don't think so. So Jobs was intimately connected to what was going on around him. He just had probably better antenna to anybody. And his statement of not asking customers really was talking about a new market. And let me offer that for a second, because it's really important to understand the types of startups. You know, we only have in our language one word called startups. It turns out that there are at least 4 major types, and unless we understand those, we kind of mistake what he said. There are startups entering existing markets. How do you know it's an existing market? There are customers and there are competitors, and you can enter an existing market with something better or faster, and or some axis of the competition that customers will say, you know, if you only made this better, I'd go buy it. More resolution on a camera, you know, or something else. Oh, okay, so an existing market, I know how to enter it. That requires a ton of customer interaction, and they will teach you what it will take to sell them. There's another type of existing market where you could say, I want to enter that existing market, but boy, they're a monopolist or duopolist with budgets 1,000 times my size. If I go head on, they're going to kill me. So why don't I either segment this existing market with a niche, meaning I know exactly, instead of building a general purpose camera, I'm going to make a camera for, you know, people who do astronomy, okay, or some camera adaptation or something. Or I could make a camera in China that's 80% of the features at 20% of the cost. Either one of those are segmenting an existing market. Still takes a lot of customer interaction. But the type of startup that Jobs was talking about is I see something that doesn't exist yet. I see where I'm able to take a computer chip and a vision of maybe something I saw at Xerox PARC one night, or for the iPod, when John Rubinstein came in one day as head of engineering at the time, hardware engineering, saying, look at this 1.8-inch drive that Toshiba has. And look at this software from this third-party company about a user interface. What if we combined them like this? Boy, that's when you don't go out and ask people, would you like something that doesn't exist? But you do go out, it's not just in your building, you still go out and say, what will this replace? Because people don't have more than 24 hours a day. They're doing something now. What will change in their lives if I develop this product? What will happen? And what will happen to some other ecosystem? And what will happen if I not only combine it with some software, what happens if I convince the record companies to give me some of their content? And by the way, what is it that only I'm capable of doing that no one else is? Now that was the genius of Steve Jobs. And so when he talked about, you know, entrepreneurship is not about asking customers, he was talking about the case of a new product in a new market, which Apple did twice. With the iPod, actually 3 times, with the iPod, iPhone, and tablet. And they nailed it spectacularly well. And that was the special magic that Steve Jobs brought to the intersection of art and science.